So before I start this video, go and grab yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, a shot of vodka, whatever floats your boat, because I'm just going to sit and have a chat with you all, because that's what I feel like doing now. I don't get to go out and talk to people that much, seeing as though we're all at home. And today I wanted to talk about my journey with ulcerative colitis, which is the inflammatory bowel disease I have. I have suffered with ulcerative colitis for 3 years? Yeah. I've always tried to sit down and do this video, and it's always been quite emotional. I went into filming it wanting sympathy, wanting empathy from people, and just wanting people to understand the pain that I had been through. But I got a message recently and it just reminded me of how my outlook should be and was for a long time. That yeah, I went through all that horrible stuff, but I'm here now and I want to use my story to inspire, and especially with the world at the minute and the health crisis we're in, and it is horrible what's going on now. For everyone out there living with a chronic illness, I'm sure you will be able to relate. The whole world has no control over their health. They're stuck inside, they're scared about the future, they have no idea what's going to happen, and I couldn't describe living with ulcerative colitis any better than that, and I'm sure with other chronic conditions it's the same. It's going to be a bit of a ramble and I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to try and make it as positive as possible. But some things I can laugh at now, which I couldn't laugh at when it happened. I cried at. But you have to keep going, like just keep swimming. That's what my mum always said. Just keep swimming, surrender to the world, surrender to what its plan is for you, because the plan that it gave me wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I wouldn't be me without it. So for those of you who are unaware of what ulcerative colitis is, it's an inflammatory bowel disease which infects your large intestine. The best way to describe it is ulcers in your mouth appear in your large intestine, they bleed, they're sore, and the symptoms that you get are bleeding when you go to the toilet for a poo, diarrhea, constipation, no control over your bowel movements, so you're shitting yourself on a regular basis, a lot of pains and cramps, wind, IBS kind of symptoms, you change your diet, anemia, knock-on effects from medications. Honestly, the list could go on. And overall, it is a shitty disease. It's literally a shitty disease, but it's not disgusting, and you shouldn't be embarrassed to talk about it, because we all poo and we all have different pooing habits, and if yours are going a bit obscure, then go see a doctor, because you don't want to lose your colon like I did. It starts back in January 2017. I was 17 years old, still at college, doing my A-levels, ready to take on the world. I was gonna move to London in September, go to fashion uni. It was gonna be the best year ever. My summer was planned out. I was going to Benicassim, I was going to Zante, I was going to all these festivals. I started getting symptoms in January, only very mild ones, and it was blood when I went to the toilet, and I was just exhausted. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't do anything. It was my mock exams and I just was in a haze of like, I just didn't know what was wrong with me. After about a month I told my mum what I'd been experiencing, because I thought it'd just go away, but it didn't. So we went to the doctors and I'd taken pictures of what was in the toilet, which was obviously a lot of blood, and as soon as the doctor saw him, they were like, we need to refer you to a gastro as soon as we can. We got referred to a gastro and they were like, let's do a sigmoidoscopy, and they told me I had piles. Right. In my head I kind of knew it wasn't that, because my nana has ulcerative colitis too. She has an ileostomy bag, she's lived with it for 50 years. My sigmoidoscopy was booked 3 days before I went to New York for my 18th. Oh, never forget it. And the plan was they were going to ban my piles in the sigmoidoscopy. Me being me, I'd never really had any kind of procedure or anything like that before. They were like, oh, you'll be fine without sedation, you'll be alright. So I had my first sigmoidoscopy with no sedation, which I would not recommend. Please get all the sedation you can have, because they're not a comfortable process. I had that done, and it turned out I did have colitis, known as proctitis, because it was just in my rectum. So started on a tablet called Actaza, which is like an anti-inflammatory tablet thing, and I had enemas. The glorious world of enemas was welcomed into me, and oh, I hate enemas, honestly. Went to New York for a week, then it was my 18th birthday and nothing was getting better. I had a party for my 18th birthday and all my friends were here, and my mum and dad had come back and they were downstairs, and I went downstairs and I just started crying to my mum and dad, because I was having such a good time, but I was hiding this thing that was going so terribly wrong. I thought that, oh, ulcerative colitis, my nana had had it, she'd been very ill, but that was 50 years ago. I thought I would have it, take a few tablets, and I'd be fine. I didn't understand the extent of it. From like May 18th in April 2017 to July, I was sitting my A-levels, but I was just getting worse and worse, and it was horrible. I changed my consultant. They'd recommended putting me on steroids because steroids mask the symptoms. They don't cure anything, they don't really do anything other than hide what's going on and make things a bit easier. But you're not supposed to be on steroids for a long time because there's a lot of side effects, such as your face ballooning, you put on a lot of weight, it's like water retention, it can affect your bones. I was on all these steroids which should have been working. I think at this point I was on like 20 tablets a day and doing my A-levels. I couldn't get to college because I was just shitting myself and I couldn't get on a tram because there's no toilet on a tram. Managed to sit my A-levels, God knows how. Ended up in hospital the week after. I went away to Zante for my girls' holiday, first girls' holiday. Got home on the Friday and was admitted to hospital on the Saturday. That was my first hospital admission, which, as I said, was one day after coming back from Zante. I know it wasn't alcohol induced, but I feel like the alcohol probably didn't help. That hospital admission was the kind of wake-up call that I needed, and to understand that this condition wasn't going anywhere and it was something I was going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. I did a colonoscopy and they said my bowel was on fire, like it was crazy, inflamed, like not good levels, and I was like, oh, oops, what does this mean? So that was when I got introduced to my IBD nurse, Jo, who is literally the best woman ever. She's amazing. She has made my journey with IBD so much easier, and she always puts a smile on my face. She basically explained everything that I didn't know. Basically said the next point is long-term medication. So you go on medications for like 3 months, and then after that period you can check if your body is accepting the drug or rejecting it. It's very trial and error. It is different for everybody. It's like everyone's disease is completely different, which is the craziest and hardest thing, because you can't just go down the same route as other people because you just don't know if it's going to work. And she said, we need to start you on a medication, we won't know if it works for 3 months, all this. And I was like, oh. At this point it was August and I was supposed to be moving to London in September, and that was not happening, and all these plans that I had in summer were not happening. But I have to prioritise my health, and health is the most important thing. So after that hospital admission, I'd been dosed up with IV steroids, IV antibiotics, but we were going to start a new drug. The drug we chose was infliximab, which is an intravenous infusion. It takes 2 hours. I used to go every like 6 weeks after my induction period. And the way it works, I am not quite sure. It's something to do with your white blood cells, I think. I don't know. I'm going to do a video full on medications because I need to research them. In August 2017, so 6 months after diagnosis, I started infliximab infusion. There was a slim chance it wouldn't work, but I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I'm not an awkward person. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. Mark those famous last words, Lucy. The summer finished. All my friends went to uni. I didn't. I deferred my offer. That was hard. Watching all my friends go off and not really being able to join in. Got to like September, end of September time, and by this point I'd been on the medication about 8 weeks and I wasn't really noticing much of a difference. I had a sigmoidoscopy and they told me that things were improving, but I didn't feel any better. I felt so ill still. I was still going to the toilet like 15 times a day. I had no control over my bowel. I wasn't really going out. I wasn't working at this point. I literally was existing. I wasn't living, and that's what I always say. And it's sad to look back on, but I want this video to be as light-hearted and upbeat as possible. But that was when my mental health really like plummeted, because I felt really alone. I felt stupid because I thought it was in my head, because doctors were telling me, put your symptoms scientifically, I should be going because your bowel looks like it's healing, but it still was inflamed, and like just all these things. I just tumbled and didn't really get back up for another like 6 months. October rolled around, and that was at the point where I would get my antibodies tested, which would indicate whether the infliximab was working or not. And we got my antibodies tested and they had rejected the drug and the drug was not working. And that was like a sigh of relief, because I honestly thought I was going crazy. I thought, am I bringing my symptoms on myself? Am I mentally like making myself ill? And it was weird, but it's hard to explain, but that's just kind of what happens when you're ill. Your mind goes mush. Along with all this happening, I had booked tickets to go and see Harry Styles in London, because the original plan was I was going to live in London and Ella, my best friend, would come and stay and visit me. So this trip to London for me was kind of a big deal, because I'd not really been leaving the house much or going out much, and I was travelling down to London to see Harry Styles. I'd emailed the venue, which I think was the Apollo in Hammersmith Apollo, and told them about my disability and said, is there any chance I can go straight in, because I can't queue, because I would basically shit myself probably in the queue. It was just to lessen the anxiety and like make it a bit easier for myself to just go straight in. So we got to go straight in, which meant we got to be right at the front. All was good, except the fact when you stood right at the front, the toilets are right at the back, and to get out with a load of screaming Harry Styles fans around you is impossible. I was watching Harry Styles, stood right at the front. Incredible, what an incredible man. And then all of a sudden some girl faints next to me, it goes all crazy, and my anxiety goes whoop, sky high, and that triggers me to get stressed about needing the toilet. And you all know, you go for a nervous poo before your exams. The exact same things happened to me, except my nervous poos happened about 10 times a day. Stood watching Harry Styles, and all of a sudden I started with this horrible like panic attack, and I just shit myself in front of Harry Styles. And luckily I like prepared for these things, and I'd always bring spare pairs of everything with me. That was another thing. So luckily it had not gone on my clothes, but I'd brought spare pairs of everything else, and I was fine after that. But yeah, I shit myself in front of Harry Styles, and I don't think many people can say that. And I don't know why I'm admitting this to the internet, but you've got to laugh at these things. So after the whole Harry Styles saga, my life felt even more downhill, because I'd shit myself in front of Mr. Harry Styles, and that is not something that brightens up your life, let me tell you that. December of 2017 were really bad months. I was just on steroids again, just to sort of tie me over until they decided what medication was going to be the next step. And at that point I decided I wanted to see a psychologist, because mentally I wasn't coping very well at all. I just found it so hard. In January 2018 I started medication called Humira, which was a self-injecting one similar to infliximab, but every 2 weeks I would inject myself in my legs twice, I think, something like that. I built up my hope again for this to work, and I remember January being a really good month, because I tried to start going out a bit more, do more normal things, like get my creativity back. I tried to pull myself out of this hole that I'd fallen into, because I had the psychologist who was helping me sort of look at the world differently, look at my illness differently, and like try and cope with my anxiety. But then February rolled around, and I hate that month, I'll tell you now, I hate that month. Mentally, that was probably the worst month I've ever had to deal with. I was scared, I was so scared, and as an 18, yeah, I was 18, as an 18-year-old girl, I spent most of the month sleeping in my mum's bed with my mum next to me, because I was too scared to be on my own. Because I was scared of how ill I was becoming. I was scared of, I don't want to get upset, this was meant to be light-hearted. I was scared of my mental state, I was scared of a lot of things, and I just pulled myself away from everybody and everything, and just wanted to be safe. So I stayed at home for like a full month. Yeah, which is probably why I'm good at this quarantine thing. We had sigmoidoscopies, and they just said nothing was really improving. I think I was just put back on enemas and steroids. Like the whole time with colitis I was on steroids, like on and off basically. Like I didn't really get much of a break from them. Iron infusions I had because I'd get anemic from losing blood. March 2018 they decided I was unresponsive to Humira. They just didn't really know what to do to me, and I remember my gastro saying, "Lucy, you're such a puzzle," because most people enter remission at some point, whereas I didn't. I was just constantly in one big flare up. Every day was different, but every day was hard in some way or another. I think it was April 2018, I discovered Imodium, which they had told me I could take, which basically is if you've got diarrhea, it stops you from having diarrhea. So if I wanted to leave the house and not shit myself, I could take Imodium, which was life changing, because then I stopped shitting myself in front of famous people, which was great. Imodium really gave me some confidence back, but also it was a medication that you can't abuse. So after my 19th birthday, I went away to Barcelona and I came home and they admitted me to hospital again after a holiday. This time it wasn't that serious. Because they decided Humira wasn't working, they wanted to just dose me up on steroids. Yeah, so I was admitted just to sort of tie me over, because steroids, we knew that steroids helped, so we knew that steroids would make my life easier. They weren't a long-term solution, but for me to go in for hospital for 5 days, get bulked up on steroids, that would help me get through until I could start something else. At that point, I definitely started feeling like me again. I got back into fitness, I got back into going out, seeing my friends, and all this was because of Imodium, because I could take a tablet that could stop me shitting myself, which meant that I had the anxiety gone, and that was the most incredible thing. But still, the Imodium didn't work every time, and Imodium isn't something you should keep taking. Honestly, like, that summer was a really good summer. I will always remember that summer. Like, there were hard times, like being on holiday and then having to run to some like Greek restaurant and be like, toilet, I need toilet. But it's quite funny now, like I can laugh at it. At that point I'd learned to just deal with it and it had become normal to me. So mentally I definitely got back into a healthy place. At summer 2018 everything kind of got a bit more normal, and I found this motivation from somewhere to just get on with it and like make the most out of what I've got. I was living my life finally, but I still had that holding me back a little bit, and there was still that motivation for me that I just wanted to be fully better. July 2018, only two options really left for me. I would either try the other drug called vedolizumab, which was an infusion that I'd go and get every 6 or 8 weeks, or I could go on a drugs trial. And to be honest, I didn't really want to be a test dummy. That's what I said to them. It would have meant a year of my life dedicated to this drug. It just felt like if I was to do a drugs trial, my life would be tied even more to hospitals. And at that point, I'd sort of was getting my life back and getting me back. And I thought, I don't want to do a drugs trial, because you don't know what that's going to do to you. It's a drugs trial for a reason. So we decided, or I decided with the help of everyone, because we call ourselves Team Lucy, me, my mum, my dad and my gastro and my nurse and everyone who's in Team Lucy, like that's what we call ourselves. We decided vedolizumab would be the third option, and I said to myself, this is the third and final option, because I just couldn't face it anymore. And I made that decision in my head, and I knew that I would stick with that, because I didn't want to tumble back down again. I didn't want to spiral into the person that I was again. Started vedolizumab, and I'd say that was the best drug I'd ever been on. I was starting to feel more improvements, I was getting more energy. When September rolled around and everyone was going back to uni, I decided I was going to get a job. Got a job working at Marks and Spencer's, and they became like a little family to me, and I'm still working there now, doing a dream job. So there's still, like, they play such a part in me like growing. Getting a job, as like simple as it sounds, that was such a big step for me, because I was spending every day not knowing what was going to happen day to day, and I had no routine because I was so scared. But having that job made me have to get up, made me have to go out, made me have to be okay, and I dealt with it. It just proved to me that I could do these things even though I was ill. The drugs seemed to be working. I felt like I was getting better in a way. Like, nothing ever got incredibly better, but I felt like things were improving. November time 2018, I got some virus, and I don't know what it was, and the doctors didn't know what it was. But it lasted for about 4 weeks, but they couldn't give me anything for it because it wasn't like a bacterial infection, it was just a virus. So I just had to wait it out. That meant that I couldn't get my medication, which meant that all of the medication went out of my body. And this is what I think happened. I'm not a medical expert or anything, but I think because I was due to have my infusions like 6 weekly, and I went 12 weeks without having one. So I think the medication sort of went out of my body, went out of my system, and then when I was healthy enough to have it again, it wasn't enough. Yeah, that's what I think happened. I think that my body just didn't really know what it was because it had such a break from it. After having that virus, everything just went downhill again. December 2018, I was still in my job, working at Marks and Spencer's, but everything was just going woo. But I didn't really want to say anything because I'd built myself back up, and everyone was like, Lucy's killing it, Lucy's being amazing, love. And like, I was, but I was not doing well. I went out a lot and wasn't really caring much about my health because I was just giving up, honestly. And I did know in my head what I decided the next step was going to be, because I'd said this is third time lucky, third and final time, and if not, we're getting that colon out. Last January, from then till the 8th of February, everything just went, I just started getting ill really quick. I just couldn't do anything. I was spending just days in bed. I was exhausted on the toilet. I couldn't eat anything. I lost so much weight and I was terrified. But I knew what was going to happen. I had a sigmoidoscopy booked for the 8th of February. My mum and dad wanted to take me to A&E well before the 8th of February. But I was just like, no, we'll just wait till then, I'll be fine. I had my scope and they basically said, the best thing for you now, Lucy, is to have your colon removed. I came out of surgery and apparently I woke up and asked for my surgeon, and I shook his hand and said thank you for saving my life and changing my life. And yeah, he went and told my mum and dad that whilst I was in the recovery room, because he said that's the first time in my whole medical experience that anyone has ever shook my hand and said thank you after doing a surgery. I spent 10 days in hospital recovering. Recovery wasn't easy, and I left hospital on the 24th of February 2019 without my colon and my appendix, which they didn't tell me until after, with a little bit of my small intestine poking out my belly, and an ileostomy bag for hopefully the rest of my life. And I've never looked back since, and I just made the decision that that was going to make me. It wasn't going to break me, it was going to make me. And I think it's safe to say it has, and I think my friends would say that, my family would say that, anyone that knows me would say that, because I'm just me again. I'm not that ill one. I'm not the ill friend who can't turn up to parties. I'm not the ill one that can't celebrate birthdays. I'm not the ill one who's sat at home and can't work. Like, I'm me. I'm Lucy. I'm not ill. I might not have a colon, I might have a bag of shit attached to me, but I can be whoever I want. I can be Lucy. I've not got any restraints, and I don't care if I don't look like everybody else. As cheesy as it sounds, like, my scars make me me. Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, so why should I be ashamed of them? And I think that is what I want everyone to take from this. The fact that I can sit here and reflect on the most depressing, the most emotional, the hardest, like, that time in my life with a smile on my face. The fact that I can do that and be so positive and happy about it, please just grasp onto that and think about that, about this whole situation. As cheesy as it sounds, it's like that saying, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. I think in regards to this whole situation with the world and the massive health crisis we're in, just take from this story that there will be a light at the end of all of this, that you've just got to pause your life like I did for 2 years. Just press it on pause, I hope my stories inspired you a little bit. Living life with my ileostomy bag now has made me more me than ever, and I'm gonna promote that, I'm gonna talk about that, and I'm never gonna stop owning it, because that's the only way I know to do. Just make positive out of a negative. That's the only thing you can do. If I can help someone who's in the same position as me feel more confident, feel more accepted, and feel more themselves, then I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna keep talking about it. I'm gonna keep sharing pictures, and if you don't want to see it, then you don't want to see it, but I'm a bag lady and I ain't going nowhere, okay? If anyone's got any questions, I'm always open to answering questions, or, you know, I'm gonna do more videos on this whole thing, but I just thought I'd have a general chat and just talk about everything I've been through. Just please stay safe, look after yourselves, and like I said, life likes to test us, but we can get there in the end. And at least you didn't shit yourself in front of Mr. Harry Styles. That's one thing you've got on me, okay? Imagine, can we all tweet this to Harry Styles, because wow, that would be a great interaction for this lockdown life. See you later.